Welcome back to the Bodhisattva's Guide. Sorry. Welcome back to the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life by Master Shantideva. And today the class is going to be on how to fight our mental afflictions. This is part one. This class is so important. It comes in two parts. There's part one and part two. But we're still in course 10, and this is class 7. And all of this information comes from a commentary that was written on Master Shantideva's Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. And that was written by Geltop J. Dharma Rinchen, and it's called Entry Point for the Children of the Victorious Buddhas. Now, who are those children of the victorious Buddhas? In Alix's last talk, she talked a lot about taking the vows in the form of the wish, or the vows where you actually take the vows. When you do take your vows, you become a child of the Buddhas. So that's a really cool thing. And it's another great reason to want to take your vows. So our class today is going to cover why we're here. Why are we here even interested in this class? And the reason is, for most of us, I believe, for myself, is we have some pain. We have suffering. We have the pain of suffering of losing things in our life. We work so hard to get a house. We work so hard to find a good relationship. And in the end, we lose them all. A couple of years ago, I was investing in some real estate here in Silverton, and I made a pretty good investment. It seemed like it would be something that would make me money and enable me to retire sooner because I would have an income flowing in. So I bought this building in, I think, January of 2021, something like that. In May of 2022, it burned down. So I thought I had a source of income that would allow me to have a good retirement, but it went up in flames. And that's what happens in this suffering world. And I think that we've all had some pain. We've all had losses. We've all faced illnesses and sicknesses. But is there something we can do about it? And that's why we're here. We're here to learn about a path where we can change things, a path that has the potential that we can reach our ultimate goal. We can go beyond this pain and suffering to developing our bodhicitta and having it grow into becoming a bodhisattva, and having our bodhisattva imbued with this desire to help others and go into the direct perception of emptiness, which sets us on this path. And then we have we're in the path of habituation, where we get used to seeing how things really exist, that they're coming from us, and that we're totally responsible for the movie of our life. And when we get there, we are really hooked, and we want to make all the good karma we can to reach nirvana and to go on to our ultimate goal of becoming a superhero or a Buddha, somebody who really knows how to help all living beings in all capacities. They can tell us what we need to stop doing and what we need to start doing so that we can attain this ultimate goal. So what is one of the main things that we've got to do? If we're suffering and we're in pain, that pain and that suffering has a cause. So where does this cause come from? Well, I just mentioned briefly that we make our own movie. How do we make our movie? This movie of me and my world, me and my life. It's by the things that we've seen ourselves doing in the past, the words we've spoken, the actions we've taken, the things that we've done, good or bad, to help or hurt other people. Those created an imprint in our brain that became a seed, and that seed grows and it ripens to this moment of me experiencing, trying to teach this class that means a lot to me. So really, I'm teaching this class for myself. I need it. And I'm hoping that by sharing it with you guys, I will be planting more seeds for me to have a better future in the future. Because obviously I'm in this class because I've got pain. my building burned. I've had sickness. I've had great loss. I've lost a lot of family members, and it's made me very sad. So I'm here wanting to learn a path that can help me change those things. So back to the path. What do we need to do to really achieve our goals? Well, Alix mentioned, in this course, we've gone over a lot of things we need to do. We need to purify our bad deeds, those things that we've seen ourselves do in the past, or maybe we don't remember what we've done, but we know we must have done it because of the results that we're experiencing now. So we have to purify, and then ways to make those purifications much more strong are doing offerings, prostrations, just really getting our mental mind full of this wish that we could learn something new that would set us on this path so that we can actually have the capacity to not only help ourselves, but to help all beings. And we have to remove those obstacles. So this class tonight is about learning who our enemy is and getting rid of them. So who is our enemy? I've had a little malfunction with my PPT. It won't move forward. So give me one moment.
I was going to show you how to do it if you put it back up. It's the little arrows on your screen.
Oh, on my screen. Thank you. Okay. So Alix just taught me something. I think she planted a very good seed. Okay. So what is a mental affliction?
But we don't see your PPT right now. Do you know that?
Oh, I forgot. Didn't share it. We moved it, but I didn't share it. So I'm going to share that again. Oh, since I just had this little mistake with my PowerPoint and everything, this is a good thing because it gives me an example of something else to share. Sometimes we can get angry at our mistakes, and it's a ripening karma. It's a ripening result of a past event, but it's how I respond to it that makes it whether it's a bad seed in the future or not. So if I'm not upset by this little faux pas of mine, I didn't plant a bad seed. I'm starting that path of reacting differently to the ripening results of my bad karma. And, that fits right in with this class. So what is a mental affliction? A mental affliction in Tibetan is called a pneumo. I'm not a Tibetan scholar, but the more that I try to pronounce these words, the better off I am. I'm going to plant the seeds to one day actually be able to understand it and maybe be able to read those ancient books that have survived for so long. So a mental affliction is something that causes us pain and suffering. It's the suffering of let's see, it causes us, it's a thought or an action that affects this mind that's having it. It makes us sad, it makes us unhappy, and that's a mental affliction. And in Tibetan, they call it a Sim Gyu Ma Shiwa Jepa Sungjin. Well, we know that Shiwa is peace, but Ma Shiwa means no peace. So it's a thought that causes us to have no peace of our mind. Where is that? Okay, so here's the actual the actual definition from the text. A mental function, which is of the type that works to ruin the peace of the mind with which it is associated. So if I get upset, that affliction is going to hurt this mind. So there are two big suffering that we have, and it comes from mental afflictions. It's the suffering of the general suffering, where we have the suffering of loss, the suffering of change, and the suffering of pain. We get things and we lose it. And the second suffering is the suffering of the lower realms. This is our path, the suffering of the lower realms. If we're afraid of a lower rebirth, like into one of the hell realms, hell realm or animal realm, or if we grow in this, we might realize that we don't want to just worry about our own rebirth, but we want to help everybody stop a suffering of a lower rebirth. And there's we can't see these realms, a lot of them. We can't see a hell realm, we can't see the hungry ghost realm, but we can see the animal realm. And right now I'm surrounded by several dogs. I'm babysitting dogs. I've got a dog of my own, and they're really cool. But do they suffer? Well, yeah, I think they do sometimes. They don't get to choose when they get to go out. They don't get to choose when they eat. They can't make choices for themselves, so they can't get on this path. They don't have the capacity to do that. And if you think about birds, you might be tossing them food, and maybe you do it every day. But what do the birds do every day? As soon as you toss them the food, they don't stay there. They flutter away because they're always on the lookout for who's going to eat them. Will this hurt me? And then they might come back when they see the coast is clear. Or other animals, they're wary. They have to be very watchful. They could be out in the wild, a little rabbit eating something, but it's always looking and sniffing and watching and feeling the air to see if they're going to be somebody's dinner or if they're going to have their own dinner. So that's some of the types of suffering, but this is the path that we can get on to end all this suffering, and not just for ourselves, but for all living beings. So these mental afflictions, I want you to think of it as an illness. It's a great sickness. It's a sickness that is this been with us from time without beginning. We may not realize how severe it is, but it's the cause of every unhappy moment we've ever had. It's not something that we want to keep anymore. We want to remove it. So first we have to identify what it is, which we've done. It's a mental affliction that causes us pain. So now we want to learn how to remove it. And one thing that we want to do is we want to think about how these mental afflictions affect us. How do they hurt us? Well, I mentioned that they do hurt us because they're with us all the time. Mental afflictions, they cause us great pain because, like this young man in the photo, he feels powerless. We don't have the power to do anything to help ourselves if we can't stop our mental afflictions. I like to think about it like there's been times, Alix mentioned in her talk about, she didn't feel joy maybe 9 years ago. And for me, sometimes still, it creeps up. So I would like to think about like sometimes when I'm going to work, I might have a mental affliction, and it just makes me feel so tired that I don't feel like even when I do go to work that I accomplish anything. I feel just terrible and useless. And that's how a mental affliction affects us. And think how they cause us unbearable suffering. We can think about the mental afflictions that have caused us the great pain of loss. I felt pretty bad when that building burned. I felt a lot worse when I lost family members. But if I had correct worldview, I would understand that it's my seeds forcing me to see those losses, that they're a result of past actions that I've taken, because I see this loss, but, if to someone else, it could be a gain. The loss of people around us, I see that they're no longer in my life, but we don't know what their seeds are having them see. Or I don't know if other people, what their seeds have in for them. Maybe they still have those people in their lives. We don't know, but it's something to think about. But as long as we have mental afflictions, they cause us suffering all the time. Oh, and now think about the pain they cause us. It's infinite. It's painful when you're, either you're angry, you have loss, you actually can have illness, you can have stress, always thinking you've got to grasp things because you think they're coming this way. And mental afflictions are terrible. They are the cause of all of our suffering. So the final thing that we want to make sure that we don't do is ever make friends with a mental affliction. Sometimes, you can go to therapy and stuff, and they talk about anger. like, just, let it pass, or, beat a pillow or something like that. But anger is a mental affliction. And the more we allow it to live in us, it's just going to plant seeds for more anger. That it's a mental affliction. We never want to make friends with them because they grow stronger. This is an all-out war to defeat mental afflictions because of the pain and the suffering and the harm they cause us. So this class, if you came here thinking that this would be a class to help you just reduce stress, and you could learn to meditate, meditate on your breath and just feel more relaxed and peaceful. That's not what this class is about. That's not what Buddhism is about. Buddhism is about a path of getting rid of our mental afflictions by understanding the source of them and going to the source and stopping them. So how do we do it? Well, let's first of all talk about the primary mental afflictions. If we know our enemy, we can work to conquer our enemy. So there are 6 primary mental afflictions that all of us have. And the 6th of those mental afflictions has 5 parts. So there's actually a lot more mental afflictions. So the first one is liking things ignorantly. Now, what does that mean? Can you like things? Well, you can, but you don't want to like things ignorantly. Liking them ignorantly means you would do something bad to get it. If you think ice cream is coming from, you have pocket money and you can go to this ice cream shop and get ice cream, you're mistaken. I've gone to the ice cream shop and it's been closed. I had money, but money couldn't buy the ice cream because the shop was closed. Or, maybe I've got the money, the shop's open, but they don't have the flavor I like. So where does ice cream really come from? It comes from sharing ice cream with others. It comes from generosity. So how can this be a bad thing, liking things ignorantly? Well, maybe it would be like if there's just enough ice cream in that ice cream case, the flavor I like, I might, push to the front and get that ice cream before anybody else could have it. It causes us to grasp to things, to think that we have to take it to get it. So that's ignorant liking. And the next mental affliction is disliking things ignorantly, which is called contro in Tibetan. To dislike something ignorantly means the same sort of, only your ignorance is you would do something bad to avoid getting this thing that you don't like. I was thinking, like, suppose you wanted to get somewhere fast and you were going to get a speeding ticket because you were going somewhere fast, but then you told an untruth or a lie to the police officer and said you were having an emergency. You're not wanting the speeding ticket, but you're willing to lie about why you were speeding. That would create another bad karma. So it's doing things ignorantly, thinking that the lie would get you out of the ticket. If you got out of the ticket, it would be a ripening good karma while doing a bad deed. So you get 2 results. You get a bad result and you get a good result. So with ignorant liking, it would make you think things are coming at you and you would do bad things to avoid those things. The next one is pride. Pride's really a tricky one. Pride, it just, there's 2 types of pride. You can be prideful in a good way or a bad way. The pride that you're thinking about, like, I'm so good and I'm so smart, and that I would be willing to say something mean to someone that I thought was not as smart, or to treat people unkindly because I thought I was so cool. That's a bad sort of pride. But what about a healthy self-esteem? Suppose I feel really good that I'm learning something new, a different way of looking at the world, how it's coming from me, that I'm actually planting good seeds by doing things differently, by really working to understand emptiness. And that because I've been thinking about emptiness, then maybe I'm starting to be a better person than I was in the past. Well, that might be a good type of pride, that I'm willing to take the time in my time and my energy to learn a new way of being that's so different from the way our world has been. We've always thought, we've got to be the best at something. But frequently, when we're proud of something where we don't even have the skill set to do. Or maybe we're proud because we can do something, but not very well. Or maybe we're prideful because we were able to convince somebody that we're really good at something when we're really not. So those are all really painful things, and they just plant more bad karma. One of the prideful things that we really have to watch out for, suppose you are an intelligent person and you're really prideful about it. Just being prideful about it plants the seeds for you to lose that intelligence. It means you're not as smart as you think you were, because you're creating bad karma, and it'll make you lose your intelligence pretty fast. Think about it. Really, I think I just read an article today that says Alzheimer's is on the rise, or dementia in adults. And they've equated it to the food we eat or how we eat. But is that really the case? Is it really that, or is it something else that's causing us to see an increase in dementia or Alzheimer's? Maybe it's just because of our past pride. Okay, and now the next one is ignorance, which is marikpa in Tibetan. This kind of ignorance is a different one than the ignorant liking or ignorant disliking. This ignorance is just like simple not knowing, like a mind that's in the darkness. It's not having understood anything or even been introduced to karma and emptiness. So you just don't know. And I can remember back before I ever heard about emptiness or karma, you just did things. You didn't think of the consequences. You never imagined that what you did was planting your future. And so that's not what this is. This is that type of ignorance. And then there's doubt. There's good doubt and there's bad doubt. There's doubt where you think, where you're just lazy doubt. Like you don't believe, you heard the possibility of past and future lives, but you can't prove it to yourself because you can't see it directly. So you have lazy doubt that you don't want to think it through. You don't want to really think about it, or you just don't do it. Or you thought about it, but you don't like the results. So you decide, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to practice this. But there's also a good doubt. To be a good Buddhist, it's good to have some skepticism. You don't just want to walk into a class and if somebody says, this person used to teach somebody very important, it doesn't mean that you don't listen to their words and examine them. You carefully check them out. You check to see if what they're telling you is consistent with what they've told you before. You check them out to see if their behavior is consistent with what they're telling you. So it's good to be skeptical. It's good to really analyze a question. You don't want to be just trash it and say, I don't believe this. You want to just put it on the shelf for a while until you can learn more or ask somebody who might know more and be able to explain it to you better. Because if you just diss it, you're creating a very bad karma, a very bad seed to have even less understanding and more doubt in the future. And the next one is wrong views, or tawa. Wrong views might sound very much like ignorance above, just not knowing, but it's different. These wrong views are where you actively participate in not believing something. So it's it's possible for past and future lives, but you actively don't want to go there. And this is the 6th, and it has 5 parts. So we're learning what our enemy is so that we can be watchful for them, have an awareness of when they're arising, so that when they arise, we can watch ourselves and watch our reactions to them. So what are these 5 parts to these wrong views? Well, the first one is the perishable view. Now, this really relates nicely to pride. Let's say you're really prideful about your intelligence, or you feel like you're real attractive. Well, it's not going to last. It's going to go away. So this perishable view is something that just doesn't work out. It's going to go away anyway. It doesn't last. It's a thing that's going to be destroyed. And it's called ajikta in Tibetan. The next one is the extreme view. And in this extreme view, you have two thoughts. You either believe that if karma and emptiness are true, if emptiness is true, that either everything is an illusion and I can do everything that I want, or nothing exists at all. It's two extremes. It's not the middle way. We're in the middle way, the Mahayana, the higher teachings. And if you believe that nothing exists, if it doesn't exist this way coming at me, and that you can do anything you want because it's all an illusion, it's very, very harmful. So you don't want to go there. And then the other view that nothing exists anyway, and it doesn't matter. They're both very, very bad views. So this is, you don't want to go there. And then I had a note here that I wanted to say. The other view is that nothing changes. And if nothing changes, everything would be the same. So I like to think of myself, if you thought things didn't change, that everything would be the same, then all of you on the screen, the dogs, everybody here would see me exactly the same way. You would see me as somebody you liked or somebody you didn't like. You would see me as Janice or something else. The dogs see me as the person who feeds them. So I am changing. And then I have a granddaughter, so she sees me as a grandmother. I have daughters who see me as their mother. So obviously I'm changing. So we can logic that out, that doesn't make sense. So the extreme view of nothing is changing, it just doesn't work out. So we want to avoid those two extremes of thinking, if it doesn't come this way, then it's all an illusion and it doesn't exist, or that things never change. And the next one is wrong view. This is different. This is the wrong view that's different from the wrong view of just misunderstanding where our world comes from. This is the wrong view where we actively don't believe things like past and future lives or karma and its consequences. We really don't believe it. We think there's nothing that doesn't exist. We just don't believe it. It's a really bad thing. So it's good for us as Buddhists to really contemplate, do things, is there past and future lives? Does karma exist? We can't see it right now. If Lama Sarani always said, if we stepped on a bug and we immediately felt our ribs crash and had pain, we might be able to think, I stepped on a bug and this is the result. But it doesn't work like that. We might do something bad and not even remember it, but then we get a bad result in the future, but not be able to connect when we did the bad result in the past. That's because of the time gap in between. So if we really are a good Buddhist, we want to really analyze how we can prove karma to ourselves, how karma works, and also past and future lives. I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, I've been a Christian in my life. I grew up Christian. And it's not that much different than Buddhism, except for that Buddhism takes us to the next level, that we can become that ultimate being who can help all people. But in Christianity, we didn't really think about past and future lives. But then I got to thinking, well, that's kind of silly because we celebrate Easter. And Easter is the celebration of when Christ comes back from the grave. He's here with us. So I thought, it seems if we really thought about it, that many religions, many practices do believe in past and future lives. We just haven't really explained it to ourselves. So I'm not going to tell you to believe in it or not. I tell you to think it out, put it on your shelf and think about it. Analyze it yourself. Is it true? Okay, so then the next wrong view is the wrong view that holds itself as the highest. This is when we have a mistaken view, but we think it's the best mistaken view because it's our mistaken wrong view. So if I have a choice that I think everything is an illusion and I can do everything I want, then that's the best wrong view because, I can't, if I hurt anybody, there's nobody to hurt because they're all an illusion anyway. So thinking something like that and thinking it might be the best wrong view is a mistake. And in Tibetan, this is called Tawa Chokjin. But we don't want to have that. These are all our afflictions that we want to fight and destroy. And this final one, the mistaken view that morality and asceticisms are highest. This is when we think that a practice of hurting ourselves is a good practice to bring us closer to becoming a good person, a spiritual growth. Like starvation that hurts our body, or you're holding your arm up for 10 years and never letting it down. This sort of practice that actually causes us pain. And it not only causes us pain because other people have to take care of us when we can no longer use our arm, or when we've weakened our condition so much by not eating or taking care of our bodies. There's a lot of spiritual activities like this where you think that you have to cause yourself harm to grow spiritually. And Buddhism, we believe that's a mistake because this body is so precious and so valuable. This is the body that can bring us to full enlightenment. Animals can't do it. They don't have the ability to think. They don't have the process of thinking about consequences or doing good or bad. They really do just think about eating and sleeping. At least the dogs around me do. But this human body has the capacity to have just enough pain, but enough leisure that we can find a path that can bring us to recognizing our suffering, to recognize the end of our suffering, and to reaching our final goal. So we need to take care of our bodies. It's very precious. So don't do things to hurt your body. All right. So you might think this is a really difficult task and that you don't have the ability to do it. But Master Shantideva has this verse that even fishermen, butchers, farmers, and the like endure willingly all kinds of harms, such as heat, cold, and thinking of nothing more important than their own livelihood. Why then shouldn't someone like myself, for the sake of living beings' happiness, be willing to work hard? I like this a lot. It sums up what we're doing. We're struggling through a very difficult course that it seems impossible that we could actually develop bodhicitta, where that we would really want to have the ability to not only help, but to take care of others, not enable, but to take care of them, give them a hand up. It's a big difference. Giving them a hand up is reaching out and pulling them out and giving them an opportunity to learn how to take care of themselves. But being willing, we have leisure, we have a healthy body. And Alix was talking about our personal time. Do we have personal time? We've given our vows to say that, no, our time belongs to the people we're going to help. So be like the fishermen, the butcher, and the farmers. They think of nothing but taking care of their families and their livelihood. They work really hard and suffer all the cold, a fisherman in the icy cold water, or farmers, plowing in the rain, the snow, working really hard to grow the food. We can be like that too. So I encourage you to think about that. And lastly, the last question for your homework was, do you think it's selfish to achieve nirvana for ourselves while leaving all these other people out in the world suffering? Well, the answer is no, it's not selfish. should you stick around and watch other people help them with their mental afflictions, or should you stop your own mental afflictions first? And the answer is, of course, stop your own mental afflictions, because you really can't help anyone if you still have your mental afflictions and aren't on this path of wisdom where you can share these ideas with others. And I got to thinking about this too. If you're watching out for other people's mental afflictions to try to help them with it, it seemed contradictory to me. It seemed like you would be taking their inventory or watching what they did wrong. And I think that might be a bad karma. This is just me thinking this. You can come up with your own answer, but it would be like pulling the curtain back to see what your neighbor's doing and then watching, oh, they're really doing something bad. I should, I'm going to call them out on it. But really, we want to take care of our own mental afflictions, reach nirvana, and bring everyone else with us. Never, never stop the pursuit of reaching your goal to do this path. It's a fight, and we have to be strong. We talked about karma and emptiness. We talked about how we plant seeds and how quickly they grow. We didn't talk about how quickly they grow, but they do grow. If we do a karma, it's going to grow. It doesn't stay the same size. And if we plant it, we must get a result. If we don't plant it, we won't get a result. So these mental afflictions, if we have them, we can plant 65 results in the snap of a finger. That should encourage you to take up this fight, to stop your mental afflictions. You can do it. We all can do it, but it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of effort. But we're armed with the intellect, the leisure, and the wisdom to know how to do it. And the biggest enemy of mental afflictions is understanding emptiness. If we've understood the pen, if we understand that things are coming from us, not at us, that's the biggest enemy to our mental afflictions. So one of the ways we can fight with them is to think about the three jewels. When we took refuge in the three jewels, the emptiness of the Buddha's mind, the emptiness of the Buddha's mind, and then the emptiness itself, knowing about it, the Dharma, and then those who have seen it. And then if you reverse it, all those people who have seen emptiness directly are able to teach us this path, and we can uncover our own emptiness. And because we are a changing being, we can plant different seeds to get different results. And we can be really mindful of what all of those mental afflictions are. And when they come up, don't replant them. It's interesting. When a mental affliction ripens, it's two things. It's a cause and a result. We planted a seed in the past that will give us an unpleasant result right now, but it can also create a future result, which is usually a bad seed. But now that we've understood what a mental affliction is, and we understand emptiness, when we get a result from a past cause, we can do something different. Instead of planting a negative reaction to our mental affliction, we can do something different and plant a positive seed to have a positive seed ripen in our future. That is our emptiness, the willing to do something different than we did in the past and plant different results to create a new future, a different type of future than we might be experiencing. Well, of course, different than what we're experiencing now. So I encourage you to think of the three jewels, that we took refuge in them, that we will or have taken our bodhisattva vows, a goal where we can plant and build the merit to become that person who sees emptiness directly, to reach our own nirvana, and to become that ultimate being, a superhero who can be a living example for all of us to do something different and to help the whole world. So thank you for tuning in today. And I hope you'll tune in tomorrow when Alix is going to teach the second part of destroying our mental afflictions. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks a lot.